Welcome to 21st Sports recap and reaction for the Cotton Bowl between the Michigan State Spartans and the Alabama Crimson Tide as they played this game on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2015. So you have Mike D'Antoni and the Spartans going against Nick Saban, his mentor, and the Crimson Tide. Both these teams coming into this game with just one loss, and the winner would go on to face Clemson, who had won pretty decisively in the Orange Bowl earlier on. But to start this game off, the Spartans would get the ball first. They would go 3 and out on their first possession. Alabama would end up punting after 5 plays on their first possession, and then the Spartans would end up punting again on their second possession, this time after 4 plays. Bama would punt after 5 possessions for the second consecutive straight possession to start this game. The Spartans would then punt after 6 plays. Then Alabama would then take over backed up against their own end zone on the 4-yard line. They put together a pretty impressive drive that would actually end the first quarter, bring that to a close, as they would end up having the ball for just under 7 minutes and 14 plays, but they would end up having their drive stall at the Michigan State 41, and they would have to punt the ball, and this was with about 11 minutes left still in the first half. So now Michigan State would take over, and they would end up punting after 7 plays on this possession as they brought the ball up towards midfield before punting it to Alabama, who would then take over on their own 20 with about 8 minutes left before halftime. Alabama would move the ball up to midfield, and on 1st and 10 from the 49, Jay Coker hit Calvin Ridley for a 50-yard reception that made a 1st and goal on the 1. And then after a penalty against Michigan State, they ended up with 1st down again, still on the 1, and Derrick Henry scores on the touchdown. Griffith adds the extra point, and it was 7-0 Alabama. So Alabama scores first. Michigan State would then go 3 and out on their next possession. Now the Crimson Tide would take over on their own 27. They got the ball up towards midfield. They were kind of going back and forth right here. But on 2nd and 16 from the 35, Jake Coker hits A.J. Howard for a 41-yard reception that made a 1st down at the Spartans 24. But they would end up going backwards, and they would have to settle for a 47-yard field goal attempt by Adam Griffith, and Griffith puts it through the uprights, and it was 10-0 Alabama over Michigan State with about a minute and a half left before halftime. The Spartans would get the ball on their own 25 after the touchback on the kickoff, and they started moving the ball up to midfield, and they got into Alabama territory as they were threatening, and they actually would overcome a sack by Connor Cook, got sacked by Allen, and that pushed it back to a 3rd and 18 from the Michigan State 44. Connor Cook then went to Kings for a 26-yard reception to bring the ball to the 30. Cook then went to Burbridge. He picked up 18 yards. Now it was a 1st and 10 at the Alabama 12. Spartans in the red zone with just seconds left in the first half, and Cyrus Jones intercepts Connor Cook. Oh, Cyrus comes up big, and Alabama would bring the first half to a close. So right there, the Spartans had a chance to score. They don't even come away with 3. They come away with 0. And so it's 10-0 at halftime as Alabama putting the pressure on. Their defense playing excellent in the first half. So then in the second half, the Crimson Tide would get the ball first, and the Crimson Tide were rolling. Starting things off on their own 25, Coker hit Mulaney. He picked up 26 yards, and then they kept on moving into Michigan State territory. They were faced with a 3rd and 3 from the Michigan State 23. Coker goes to Howard for a 4-yard reception. Then on 1st and 10 from the 19, Coker picks up 3 yards, but a penalty for a personal foul against the Spartans makes it a 1st and goal in the red zone at the 8. Derrick Henry runs for a couple yards, and on 2nd and goal from the 6, Jake Coker hits Ridley for a 6-yard touchdown. And this one, it was kind of a questionable call right there on that reception, is it was quite the throw, but he was in, I don't know, I mean, I kind of thought it wasn't a catch, but they ended up overturning it after review. He did make an incredible effort on the play, but it was questionable as to whether he had secured the ball. But they ended up calling it a catch, so it was a touchdown. And now, with the extra point by Adam Griffith, it was 17-0, Alabama remaining in control of this game. So now Michigan State would take over after the touchdown, down by 3 scores, and they would go 3 and out and punt to Alabama. Alabama would end up punting after 7 plays and give the ball back to the Spartans. The Spartans would go 3 and out for the second consecutive possession after Connor Cook was sacked by Tim Williams on 3rd down. And so the Spartans would punt the ball, and Cyrus Jones runs it back 57 yards for the touchdown. And that one put the nails in the coffin. And there was still 3.5 minutes left in the third. With the extra point by Griffith, it was 24-0 as the Tide just kept on rolling, dominating this game. And if that wasn't enough, they would force another 3 and out, a third consecutive 3 and out by the Spartans. And then on the first play of the possession, after that 3 and out, Jake Coker throws it up. Calvin Ridley wide open, 50-yard touchdown. Adam Griffith adds the extra point, and now it was 31-0 as they scored 2 touchdowns in just over a minute, as there was now just under 2.5 minutes left still in the third. 31 unanswered points by Alabama at this point in the game. Just total domination by the Crimson Tide. So now the Spartans would take over after the kickoff on their own 25. They brought the third quarter to a close. They got all the way down to the Alabama 28 on this possession in the fourth quarter. Faced with 4th and 4, they would go for it, and an incomplete pass would turn the ball over on downs as the Alabama defense continued to dominate in this game. The Tide would go 3 and out on their next possession, as would the Spartans. And now Alabama would take back over with about 9 minutes left still in the game. They had it 1st and 10 on their own 31. And then Kenyan Drake runs it 58 yards for the first down in the red zone at the Spartan 11. He then gets stopped for no gain, but on 2nd and 10, Derrick Henry runs it 11 yards for the touchdown. The Heisman winner, Adam Griffith, adds the extra point, and that was 38-0 Alabama with 8 minutes still left in the game. The Spartans would get the ball back, and they would get back down on the edge of the red zone to the Alabama 24, but on 4th and 2, they would have another incomplete pass that would turn the ball over on downs. So now Alabama got the ball back. They would end up punting it back to the Spartans. The Spartans would get the ball with just over a minute left in this game, and they would end up throwing an interception on their final possession. Dillion Lee coming down with it, and Alabama would get the ball back to kneel on it for the game ender to finish this one out as the Crimson Tide win 38-0. Very dominant performance by Alabama, shutting out the Spartans, and they're moving on to the national championship game. They win here at the Cotton Bowl, and they're going to be going on to face Clemson on January 11th, 2016 for the national championship. This is the reason why I got the playoffs. You see, Clemson, they won by 20 points earlier. Alabama ends up coming up with an even bigger performance, shutting out the Spartans and winning by almost 40 points. What a performance by Alabama. Nick Saban showing why he is the master. Of course, D'Antoni is a disciple of Saban, but what a game by Alabama. Their defense especially was just very dominant in this game. But let's look at the stats for Jake Coker. So he had a really good game. He actually ended up 25 for 30. At one point he was like 15 of 16. He was just on fire. 286 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. And then Derrick Henry, 20 carries for 75 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. Kenyan Drake had 4 carries for 60 yards on the ground. Calvin Ridley, 8 catches for 138 yards, 2 touchdowns. O.J. Howard, 3 catches for 59 yards. This Ridley was amazing in this game, looking almost like Odell Beckham. But Connor Cook, 19 of 39 for the Spartans, 210 passing yards, no touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And their leading rusher was Damian Terry with just 1 carry for 14 yards, as Alabama only allowed 29 yards on the ground. They were just all over the running game. They were also dropping Connor Cook left and right, putting heavy pressure on the Spartans. Josiah Price had 4 catches for 39 yards, and Aaron Burbridge had 5 catches for 39 yards. But what a performance by the defense, by the Crimson Tide. They said they were just all over the Spartans in the backfield, just dropping them left and right. So they were very dominant in this game. Let's look at some of the team stats. And first downs for Alabama, 21-16 for Michigan State. The Tide 4 for 12 on third down. The Spartans 4 for 16. Alabama went for it once on fourth. They did convert. The Spartans went for it 3 times. They only got 1, just 33%. Total yards in this game, 440 for Alabama, 239 for Michigan State. And on the ground, the Crimson Tide, 154 yards, just 29 yards for the Spartans on the ground. And through the air, 286 for Alabama, 210 for Michigan State. Then we look at the penalties in this game. Both teams penalized 6 times, 69 penalty yards against Bama, 33 penalty yards against Michigan State. And the time of possession, 32 minutes, 56 seconds for Alabama, 27 minutes and 4 seconds for Michigan State. Just Alabama totally dominating this game. Of course, that special teams punt return really put the dagger through the hearts of the Spartans, as that really did it. But it was just all Alabama from the onset. Even when it was 10-0 at halftime, it didn't look good for Michigan State, as Alabama, they don't allow a lot of points. Their defense is just amazing, and they were just getting in the backfield, putting all kinds of pressure on Connor Cook. And a lot of times they were just bringing 4. They were getting all that pressure, just bringing 4, putting guys back in coverage, so there's nowhere to throw to. And then Cook just getting hammered left and right by those big guys up front. Bama's going to have a lot of those guys end up in the NFL. Saban just keeps on churning out top prospects on both sides of the ball. And it's going to be a heck of a game when the Tigers and the Crimson Tide hook up on January 11th. Definitely looking forward to that one. But Alabama, just a very dominant performance. Michigan State really never had a chance. They couldn't get anything going on the ground. It came down to the arm, and Alabama with their secondary, and of course their defense, they just dialed up the right defense, and they did a heck of a job up front, really winning the battle in the trenches, getting, good burst off the line, and just getting in the backfield, putting the pressure on, getting to the quarterback, and forcing some errant throws. Of course, the 2 interceptions, and they just kept putting points on the board, especially that third quarter, 21 points in the third quarter. And then especially, like I said, that special teams punt return was huge for Alabama. And then they come right back with that 50-yard touchdown to Ridley. He was wide open. That's how demoralized the Spartans were at that point. They just stopped even playing defense on that one for a moment. Of course, they did their best. They went out there. They went out fighting, but they couldn't even put any points on the board. Turning the ball over on downs a couple times there in the fourth. But let me know what you think in the comments section below. It's a heck of a game. Definitely interested to read your thoughts and opinions. Thank you very much for listening. It is greatly appreciated. I hope you're having a good week and having a great weekend, and having a happy new year, and enjoy all the sports.